The first question I have to ask you is, how do you grade CJ Stroud with Justin Fields?
Oh man, very different players, same program, same situation, throwing into open space a lot, right?
Yeah.
Stroud is a much better thrower of the football. It looks much better. He's got, and I'm talking about everything. I mean, Fields might be able to throw the ball further downfield and put a bit more oomph behind it with the torque that he can create from his lower half, but that's not as important to me as the ball placement, the accuracy, and the touch. I think that's where Stroud really stands out among most, if not all, the quarterbacks in this class. He knows when to put a little extra on the ball, and he knows when to take it off, and it doesn't impede his accuracy. I love that about him. You trust him when things are on schedule. You trust him when things are clean in the pocket. And that, to some, can cause the concern that he doesn't create enough on his own. But what he did yesterday at Northwestern, tough environment to play in because of the weather. They just couldn't air it out as normally as they could. And he had to run the ball. I think he had 100 yards rushing or just under, and he showed some juice. I think he's a better athlete than some advertise. What I do think he needs to do a better job of, and this concerns me a lot with guys projecting from the college game to the NFL, is when the pass rush starts to get to him on a repeated basis, he goes backwards. And yes, most quarterbacks struggle when they're under pressure, right? That's why it's such an emphasis in the league. But it's one of the standout tapes from last year when he faced off against Michigan. They started harassing him early, and he just did not look like CJ Stroud. And I'm still seeing that a little bit this year. And that just is that ingrained in his head.
Well, that's the thing about the Ohio State quarterbacks that we all talk about.
Yeah.
Is that they all sit there with no pressure, guys wide open, elite first-round receivers. They have everything pretty much easy 90% of the time, and that's why it's hard to really analyze these guys, and that's why it takes really good scouting and those really good scouting minds to know, this guy, when he gets to the NFL, it's going to be completely different.
Yeah, you need to have that recall. I think that's what a good scout can always have, is they can watch a kid play in the Rose Bowl in January, and as they're watching him play, recall the game from 2 years ago against Rutgers on a Saturday night in September. Like, if you're starting to see repeated issues over and over, this is some of the similar stuff I saw out of Sam Darnold. Not to make any bitter statements over here with a Jets fan, but I just remember seeing him. I used the word hoppy. He got a little hoppy in the pocket once the pass rush started to get to him, and that concerned me. That was one of the most glaring things I had on the scouting report out of him. Yes, we could talk about his Rose Bowl performance at USC. It was one of the all-time greats, but
it's
when you really break down his full career worth of tape, those are issues that kept on popping up, and that's a big one. If you can't respond to pass rush at a high level, you're not going to succeed in the NFL.